Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are back for another review of Heart and Hustle on season one, episode 6. And I got to tell y'all, I am loving this show. This is absolutely right now my favorite show on. I have to commend these ladies. They are really, really bringing it this season. And I hope it continues, y'all. Y'all know how when new shows come in, the reality shows, the ladies are real open and honest and vulnerable in season one. And then if they get too popular by season two, they're clamming up. I really hope they continue because let me tell you something. These ladies may not know it, but they're helping a lot of people because their stories are so relatable to so many people. That's why I actually love doing these reviews. And I'm not going to stop. This episode, I actually want to retitle it Going Deep because these ladies went deep. And as y'all know, on all my reviews, I tend to go deep. So I'm going to go deep with these ladies right along with them, even though I don't know them and they don't know me. But anyway, let's get going. Let's get going with Elena because we are learning more about these ladies the more and more we go. Elena decides she's going to put together a pole dancing class and invite all the ladies. We later find out the Munira don't even show up. What's that all about? She gave some lame excuse that she had something to do. I don't think so. We really got to figure out what's going on with Munira because I don't know. She kind of clamming up a little bit. But anyway, Elena goes and books this pole dancing class. And something tells us she's been there before. Elena has been here before. Now, I'm putting some pieces together with Elena. She's telling everybody they need to work on their sensuality. I'm pretty sure, or I can't be totally sure, but she really hasn't opened up about what's going on with her and Josh, her husband, why they sleeping in separate bedrooms. But my guess is that Josh has cheated on her again. We just don't know how bad it is. When you start thinking about all the things Elena's been talking about in previous episodes, when she talking about the kind of men she can pull, um, all this other kind of stuff. And I kept saying, Elena, why are you talking like that? You a married woman. And now we find out that Elena is trying to get her sensuality back, her sexuality back. She over here taking pole dance classes, but yet she ain't sleeping with her husband. Elena, what you getting ready for? Are you getting ready to put yourself back out on the market? Because girl, the stuff you are choosing to do, I tell you. Well, everybody wasn't excited about the pole dancing classes. Chloe was over there acting like a stick in the mud, talking about it was too hard. It was too hard. I mean, Chloe looked like she's in good shape and everything, but I guess she don't work out that much. But you know what? Hey, working out ain't the same as pole dancing. I know that's right because one time I tried to slide around a pole just for the hell of it. And let me tell you, I said, "Ooh, no, I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to do this." So I guess I can't be too mad at Chloe. And then Latoya, another one, stick in the mud. She went and sat right down on the ground, didn't even get up. The only time Latoya really started getting to the class was when the ladies started passing out fake $100 bills. All of a sudden, Latoya's like, okay, I'll shake my ass for that. Latoya loved making money. She loved making money. We're going to talk about her later on in this blind date. Stick with me, stick with me. And then Ro was taking it seriously. And as Ro was taking it seriously, there was Latoya talking bad about her. Who still believes that Latoya was bullied? Not me. Not me. Latoya was absolutely bullied because you can tell in Latoya's confessional, she got a lot of one-liners. She got a lot of comedy about everybody else. And something tells me that Latoya, she wasn't a bully where she beat up people, but let me tell you, Latoya's tongue can cut. I suspect that Latoya can read a person and say some nasty things about them that might hurt and sting just as much as it would be for someone to punch you in your face. That's just what I say right now. But anyway, one of the other things I've been picking up on Latoya, she's not really open to new things. Not at all. Not at all. She likes to do what she likes to do in the way she likes to do it. That's what I'm picking up on Latoya. But anyway, at this moment, this is when we learn that Latoya lets us know that Labrina has set her up on a blind date with a man called Banks. And we all we know at this time in the episode, is that he's going to be a country man. And Latoya said, you need to go out there and get you a country man and get on some of these trail rides. Ride them, ride them. Guess we're going to be doing some boots on the ground and where the fans at or something. Because Labrina said, you need to get you a country man and go on one of these trail rides, Latoya. You need to get back out here in this dating scene. And then next thing you know, Latoya is talking about, well, what's he going to be? Is he going to be old, salt and pepper? Chloe saying, you need you a salt and pepper man. And there go Latoya cracking her jokes, talking about what in the high cholesterol is going on. What is Latoya calling somebody else high cholesterol? Girl, see, this is what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying. If anybody believes that Latoya was bullied, I think she was doing a whole lot of bullying herself when she was younger. Because I'm telling you, Latoya's tongue is, it can be sharp. It can be sharp. She tried to soften a little bit with some humor, but girl, it's still cutting. It's still cutting on people. But next thing you know, we was over here at Elena at her new studio that she has for herself. It's a much scaled down version, but it's all hers. She ain't got to share with her husband. He's out of it. And then she introduces us to her first new celebrity client, who's been a client of hers for years, and that's Latoya Luckett. And Latoya Luckett comes over there. They start chit-chatting because I guess they not only client and customer client and what do you call it, makeup artist. You know, she says she looks at Latoya Luckett as kind of like her big sister. And as any time women get together, we be playing armchair therapist. Will join the party because that's what I am, an armchair therapist. Oh, me too. Me too, Latoya. Me too. Folks be getting mad at us, but we still gonna keep doing what we doing. But anyway, Elena updates Latoya that they still sleep in separate bedrooms and that she has tried to get Josh to go couples therapy and he really is not into it. He's decided that he wants to go to singles therapy first, even though we find out he ain't doing that either. He ain't doing nothing. But Latoya's advice to Elena is that, you know, right now you guys are kind of living as single people and you still trying to solve your problems as individuals. And you need to be in couples therapy, not singles therapy. Well, Latoya Luckett, I know we both armchair therapists, and I'm going to give you one arm of the chair and I'm going to take the other arm. And the other arm I'm going to take is, I don't like your advice. Let me tell you why I don't like your advice. Because I think there's a difference between individual therapy and couples therapy. I think individual therapy sort of focuses on like your own personal growth, your own personal well-being. It teaches you like personal growth, you know, customizes a strategy for yourself, increased self-awareness because you really get to concentrate on yourself. And it kind of gives you a place to do some independent healing. Now, the reason why I like individual therapy before couples therapy is because a lot of the issues that you're bringing into your couple situation, your marriage, is really a result of you as an individual prior to sometimes even being in marriage. So you guys know me, I'm an engineer. I like to do root cause analysis. I don't like to jump in the middle. And when you just go to couples therapy, I feel like you're jumping in the middle because it's really the middle. The beginning is the individual therapy. So if you haven't done individual therapy, I would suggest you do individual therapy first. So I actually agree with Josh. Now, Josh might be blowing smoke up Elena's ass and he don't want to do neither one. Okay. But in terms of what they should do first, I think that they should do individual therapy first because I even think that Elena needs individual therapy. I think she's in it though. And then if you want to turbocharge it, if you want to, you know, accelerate the pace because you do want to do some couples therapy, then you need to double down. You need to do both sessions. You need to have individual therapy going on. And then you also need to have a completely different session for couples therapy. And I suggest you have two different therapists for that. I do not suggest that your individual therapist is the same as your couples therapist. And the reason I don't say that is because with your therapist, you really want to be open and honest. You want to have a place of trust that they're not going to go back and share things with your spouse that may be part of your healing journey, but you may not be wanting to share that yet. And I think by it being two different therapists, then that kind of gives you that trust factor. You don't have that interference factor, all of that. So I'm going to disagree with Latoya Luckett. I'm going to say that Josh absolutely needs individual therapy, because if Josh is cheating or has cheated, and this would be not the first time, but the second time, we need to get to the bottom of why Josh is cheating. We've only heard Elena's story. We got to really figure out, what is Josh seeking outside of his marriage, because he's seeking something, whether it's validation, whether it's worth, whether it's attention, who knows? But that individual therapy needs to be able to have a safe space to ask Josh, what do you get from that other woman? Right? And that can't be done in front of Elena. He can't be honest and say what it is he likes about this mistress or this other woman. He can't say that in couples therapy, because it would rip Elena apart. But as a therapist, an individual therapist, you really need to be able to hear the real truth coming out of people's mouth. Because if you don't get to the real truth, you never can really solve the problem of where they are. So, you know what, Latoya, I'm sorry. I like you, girl, but I'm going to disagree. But the only way I'm going to say do couples therapy is if you want to double down, and like once a week you go to individual therapy, and then the next week you do your couples therapy, and then you sort of alternate. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. But like I said, everybody's going deep. Everyone is going deep, and I love it. And next thing you know, we end up seeing Latoya in a therapy as well with her counselor, her coach. I don't know what you call the lady. I don't know if she's a therapist or just a coach. But basically, we learned a lot more about Latoya. And I'm going to tell you this. When I hear Latoya talk about her father, it's the 1-year anniversary death of her father. And I really relate and empathize with her about the death of her father, because she seems like she was very close to her father, like a daddy's girl. So was I. And she was saying that she still struggles with her father's death, after 1 year. Girl, my daddy been dead for a lot of years, and I still struggle. So I get it. I get it. I get it. She says her father was her best friend. I get that too. I get it. I get it. I get it. Now, here's the part where I'm going to have to offer Latoya some armchair therapist advice. When I hear Latoya talk about her father, she talks about her father honestly as if he were her surrogate husband. And we find out that he was a single father, which means I guess he raised Latoya by himself. We don't know where the mother is. We don't know where she is. And then she also says that it was very traumatic for her finding her father dead. But she says, he had a heart attack. She found him in the bed. He had been deceased. Now, when we hear Latoya, she talks about now she feels like she's out in the world all by herself. She feels all alone. And this is really what's starting to prompt her to start thinking about a relationship. Now, what you have to ask yourself is, why now, Latoya, are you thinking about a relationship? Well, the reason now is because she's kind of like a widow. The relationship, it sounds like she had with her father, was one of, they were father, son, but there was a lot of parts of Latoya's father that he was playing a role in her life, in which she actually should have started seeking a mate sooner in life. But she didn't have to. She wasn't forced to, because she had her father. Now, here's the danger of women who are in their 30s staying too long a daddy's girl. Here's where it can warp your sense of a relationship. Because you got to remember this. When you're a daddy's girl, your daddy loves you just who you are. He doesn't ask for any changes. He doesn't even ask for you to like the things that he likes. He just loves you unconditionally. It's like almost no requirements of you. You just show up and your daddy loves you. So what you start to believe is that's how a relationship goes with a man, and it's not true. Because when you see Latoya, she's very, she's stuck in her ways. She's stuck in her ways. And I think she's trying to translate that father-daughter relationship to a romantic relationship. You see, your father just loves you. You're not having sex with your father. You don't have to do things for your father. All these other things that we require of you in a relationship. You don't even have to like the things that your daddy likes. He may like golf. You don't have to learn how to like golf. Why? Why do I have to why? I don't have to learn the hobbies that my father likes, because he loves me already. But that doesn't work with a man. You have to start building ways to like some things that your man likes, even though it may not be a thing. You have to start wanting to get outside of yourself. And like I said, when Latoya was at this pole dance class, even if you don't know how to pole dance, if you haven't done before, what you see in Latoya is a reluctance, an unwillingness to step outside her cocoon and do something different. It's like she just wants everyone to come into her space. She doesn't want to stretch or grow. And let me tell you, she could have gotten there when it comes to dating with her father. Why did she need a man? She didn't need a man. As long as she had her daddy who was loving on her, telling her she was wonderful, she could go out there and chase that money like she did. And then she didn't have to learn how to build a relationship with a man outside of her father. So one of the things, sometimes good things come out of bad things. So although it is a tragedy and a sadness that Latoya has lost her father, one of the good things that's going to come out of his death is that it's going to force Latoya to start looking outside of her father for a man in her life to keep her company, to love on her and all those things. And I don't know if he were still alive, if she even be doing this right now. If Latoya's father were still alive, I don't even think she'd be taking the steps she's taking now, because where she was with her father alive was a nice, safe space. She didn't have to do much because her father just loved her. She didn't have to bend to any other person, learn how to blend her life with any other person, nothing. Didn't have to do any sort of self-reflection of herself to see if there were some things she needed to improve. No, because that father was giving her complete, unconditional love. So that's the thing about daddy's girls. The love of your father feels wonderful, but the relationship with a father is completely different than a relationship with a man. So Latoya, you're gonna have to have sex with a man. I know Latoya thinks she's gonna be like her daddy. Girl, you're gonna have to have sex with a man. I don't know what to tell you. So if you're uncomfortable, you better get comfortable. Okay, because it's not very many men running around here that will have wife a woman without sexual intimacy with the woman before marriage. There are some. You can keep looking for them, but there aren't many. There really aren't many. Um, but then anyway, Latoya went on over. She went over to no, it wasn't Latoya. It was Elena that went over to Munira's house because, basically Munira didn't come to the pole dancing concert. And then Munira had some excuse talking about her schedule didn't align. But then later on, she kind of did let it slip that she didn't want to go no pole dancing anyway. You know, I don't know. Manera, maybe she gonna be like a slowly opening, I don't know what opens slowly. I don't know, to sort of like reveal a pearl or oyster, you're gonna crack open that oyster. But she talked a little bit more about how she feels an enormous burden in her life of having to care for so many people. I don't know if she means all her children. She mentioned a lot about her mother's struggles. She seemed to take on a lot of her mother's life. And I know she feels sorry for her mother because her mother is an immigrant from India. Her mother had a horrible, poor marriage. They were poor when they first came to America. They had to share a basement apartment with another family. And she and Elena kind of bonded over the idea that they both kind of have this veneer, this shield, where they always have to present this strong woman, right? And as a result, it makes them have to sort of push down their own needs, their own desires. And I don't know if Munira is in therapy, but she might need to get therapy too. She really might need to do it because she said that, this being on this show, sharing with these ladies is kind of like cathartic. She's able to open up a little bit more, and it's starting to feel a little good to kind of release the weight off her shoulders. And sometimes that's what therapy is for too, just to be able to release something, talk about things that you're not able to talk about with other people, having some anonymity to it, trusting that whatever you say won't get out. All of these things are a sense of comfort. That's why I say sometimes it's not therapy. Like sometimes it's what I do with ladies, like individual coaching. You get out of it what you want to get out of it, and you make it what you want to make it. Everyone's needs are different, But based on what I'm hearing from Munira, it really sounds like she should engage in it. I don't know why more women and men don't invest in it. It's not as expensive as we think. Women are spending this same amount of money on their nails every single week or every other week. I think people need to invest in their mental health just as much as they invest in their lace fronts, they makeup, their nails, and all these other kind of things. But as we go on and we still talking about people going deep, oh lordy, 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 we get to one of the biggest parts of the episode, and that is with Ro. Ro, Ro. Ro is all in tears. She's coming over Chloe's house. She's all in tears. We find out that Ro has been dating a younger man. I didn't even know Ro had a man, but okay, because she keeps talking about how she wants a man, but yet we find out now that she has a younger man and she's been in an on and off relationship for 4 years. Okay, what is this on and off relationship for 4 years? We find out that this relationship she's been in on and off for 4 years is with an NBA player. There it is. There it is. Anyway, Ro thinks she's pregnant. She said her period is late. She ain't had it. And so what Ro decides to do is she's going to take a pregnancy test, and she Ubers the pregnancy test. She don't go buy the pregnancy test and pick it up at the drugstore, CVS, and bring it home and take it. She orders it on Uber, and when the Uber driver comes, guess who he gives the test to? The daughter. Ro, this is careless, Ro. This is very, very careless. And I've been talking about this over this last several weeks, where Ro has this relationship with her daughter that is not parent-like. And this idea that her daughter then sees the pregnancy test and says, "Are you pregnant?" And then they're kind of having like this adult conversation. It's just all inappropriate for me. It's just, remember the last time her daughter was telling Ro that maybe you should date LeBron James? Well, or no, it was Rose said she had a date, and her daughter says, "Ooh, who's it with? LeBron James?" And Rose was like, "Who's LeBron James?" And the daughter was like, "You don't know who he is?" So first of all, we now know why the daughter picked LeBron James, because her daughter probably knows that Ro likes to date NBA players, because Ro tells us later on that this isn't the first one. Too much information. And then what I didn't like back then, that her daughter recommended LeBron James, who is married, which also tells me that maybe that daughter knows that Ro is comfortable dating men, NBA players, that are also dating other women and or are married. This is too much, y'all. This is too much. This is too much. We later find out, because Ro does go to therapy with her therapist. And when she's in the therapist's office, she spends a lot of time with the doctor, talking about how she spends a lot of time with the doctor, talking about how she feels really comfortable with the doctor, which is great, because the doctor doesn't make her feel judged. And that a lot of times when she speaks to older women, probably like myself, she might feel judged. And when she's talking to this doctor, she says that maybe it feels more like talking to a friend. Well, I hope it's a friend that will tell you the truth, because if it's a friend who's just going to co-sign on your behavior, then what's the point? You might as well just go talk to a friend. But you really need a person to push back on things whereby maybe you're going in the wrong direction. Now, let me tell you why I think this therapy session went in the wrong direction. Here I am playing armchair therapist again. Rose's belief is that she right now is very unhappy. She's very unhappy. She thought that she was pregnant. She was in a whole big old tizzy over she thought she was pregnant. Come to find out that she was not pregnant. The test was negative. So she was happy about that. But what was interesting about it But what's interesting about it was she was telling the story that it's not as if this NBA player would be so enthusiastic about her having a baby. And it wasn't good timing. It wasn't good timing. It wasn't a good situation. None of it. And she's crying. So she's actually a bit afraid that she's pregnant. I don't know if this NBA player got another girlfriend, or if he has even a whole wife. I don't know. But in any respect, she wasn't feeling good about the possible pregnancy. So as she's talking to her therapist, this is where I'm going to diverge from the therapist. Rose started talking about all that anxiety over there. She's starting to realize that she needs to learn how to give back to herself because she gives so much to others. Okay. We've heard this story from Rose before. Rose was saying it about her job. Remember, Rose was telling us a story of how she was helping someone else with their business. She works a lot of hours. She doesn't want to do the work anymore. She's trying to leave the job, but she can't leave the job. And what she's saying is she feels like she's overworked, overburdened. And now she's saying she kind of feels that same way with this NBA player. So she's telling the story of how she feels she gives so much more to other people than she gets back, right? She's saying that that when she's in these relationships with these people, whether it be a work relationship, whether it be that of being a mom, whether that be that of being this girlfriend that she is, she's saying that she always has to cater to their feelings, their emotions, and not hers. She says that, when you date NBA players, it's all about them, because especially when it comes to NBA season, everything is about them and their needs and what they want. And basically, there's nothing left over for her, and there's no one asking her what she needs. This is her story. She says she puts people above herself, and she's always second. So this is what I'm going to say. Now, the doctor told her that she needs to learn how to sort of speak up for herself. Her doctor kind of went down the road whereby she said that maybe it was an issue of self-worth, and that's why Ro gives so much of herself up to these other people. And so therefore she needs to have more self-worth, and then that will allow her to maybe give boundaries to other people and make sure she doesn't give away so much of herself. I disagree with it. Okay. Because is there anyone here who believes Ro doesn't have self-worth? Maybe some of you believe that. I don't. I actually think Ro is very confident. I do. What I believe is that Ro is just like I said several episodes. She'll do anything for money. Hear me out. Ro believes that she's doing all this stuff for the NBA player selflessly. She's not. She's doing it for the money. Ro believes that she's giving all that to that business owner where she is running the business or doing whatever selflessly. No, she's doing it for the money. And the part where she's having the most struggle with the child, her Sophia, maybe she is getting child support for Sophia. She probably is. So in a lot of ways, might be that Sophia also was the product of a relationship that was built around money. So when Rose says that she can't speak up for herself, she can't actually talk about her own feelings, she can't actually move in the direction she wants to move, she's correct. She can't move because she's at the mercy of all these people's money. She's a slave to their money. And what happens is when you're a slave to money, you lose the ability to call the shots in your own life. And so what Ro is describing is a situation or situations where she's lost control, authority in her life, where she is at the beck and call of other people, this NBA player. She has to bend to whatever he wants her to bend to. She's got to bend to the man that she works with in terms of the business. She's got to bend to Sophia's needs, everyone's needs but her own, because what Ro has settled on is a life in which she is dependent on all these people for money, and she can't give up the money. Because Ro can walk away from the NBA player, but you know what? She would have to give up the money because she admitted that he gives her money. You see? So when Rose is describing herself as this person who is selfless and who needs to go out here and draw boundaries on people because they're taking advantage of her, that's not the solution. That's not the solution. Because what Rose is going to realize is she already knows that if she decides to not do what the NBA player wants or be the woman he wants her to be on the side chick, the situationship, then the relationship will be over. It will be over. And she don't want to give up the money. So she's a slave. She's basically a slave to it, and she's miserable. So it's better that she doesn't look at herself as this Mother Teresa, like she's out here feeding the homeless, curing the sick, giving food to the poor. Say what it is, Ro. Say what it is. You, just like that shirt said weeks ago, funds over feelings. You are addicted to money. You will do anything for money. There have been plenty of situations I've seen her with her daughter choose money type situations over her daughter. So if you don't really know the root cause of why you are, you'll solve the wrong things. You'll solve the wrong things. What Ro needs to really do, if she really wants to become a person who can call shots in her own life, a person who can draw boundaries around someone else and say, hey, I'm not giving so much of myself to you that I lose myself. She's going to have to develop another level of financial independence, and not on these NBA players, not on them at all. She says she's tired of playing second fiddle. She's tired of carrying other people's burdens and swallowing her own feelings. You can stop anytime you want to. The money just going to stop. The money. So is it worth it? Is it worth it? That's what you have to decide. Is the money worth it? Just like anyone else who's at a job and they're miserable at their job and they don't like their job, right? Everyone needs a job to get paid and pay bills. Absolutely. But you can get another job. You can get another job. And sometimes the other job may not pay as much. Maybe you got to commute further. But if your happiness is really important to you, then you're willing to make some of those sacrifices. And if Ro is really serious about being happy and taking control of her life and not being swallowed up by other people's problems and issues and having to do whatever they want, then what she will do is she will stop being a slave to their money. She needs to fix the right thing, because if she thinks she just got to go out and draw boundaries, she ain't going to fix the problem. And she's got to figure out how she got here. She got to figure out, why did money become such a big, important part of her life where money started to rule her? Because a lot of her decisions in life are based on money. And she's got to figure out, where did she learn this? Where did she learn how to pick people, make decisions all around money, to the point that now she walks around with t-shirts saying funds before feelings? It's on her. Like I told you, all my videos, I tell everyone, solve your own past trauma issues so that when you get in relationships, you're not blaming other people for your problems. Can you imagine Ro going up to the NBA player saying, my feelings are important? My feelings are important too. Girl, you bought and paid for by whatever he's giving you, and that's the arrangement. And if you don't want to play by the rules of his game, then you can go ahead and y'all can break up. But you don't want to give up that money. You don't want to give up that money. But later on, we see another little bit of a scenario where I'm going to say she don't see herself either. That's Latoya. Latoya goes out on this blind date, and come to find out that the blind date, he's definitely a cowboy. This man has 6 or 7 horses. He's a cowboy. He also has a trucking business, an 18-wheeler trucking business, and he breaks down his life for us and says that he is 60% horses, 20% motorcycles, 20% 18-wheelers, and then 10% personal. Yeah, that's 110. It absolutely is 110, and Latoya certainly pointed it out to us. Now, she was happy that he was a believer. She was not happy that he was salt and pepper. And she was not happy that he loved horses so much because she's afraid of horses. And he said, that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. Now, Latoya, I think, is a little bit upset that that Labrina would fix her up with this man because they have nothing in common. Well, here's the problem, Latoya. What do you like? See, this is what I'm going to get to. I don't think Latoya knows how to blend with a man because she's never had to do it. When you are blending with a person, you can't count on the fact that you guys both like all the same things. You've got to learn how to also develop interest in things that other people have interest in. So when you go on a first date and you find out this person's interest, and the minute you realize that you may not have the same interest, but you don't even think of the possibility of you developing the interest or learning something new or experiencing something new, that tells me you're closed off. That tells me what you're looking for is a person where you don't have to do anything different. You don't have to stretch. You don't have to grow. You don't have to blend. Now, this man told us he has a horse where he spent a whole $60,000 on it. $60,000, that's as much as a car. Now, if I'm sitting next to a man and he tells me that he works for himself, he's got his own trucking business, he likes horses, he spent $60,000 on a horse, I'm going to say, well, this man got a little bit of money. If you could spend $60,000 on a horse, you got a little bit of money. But what does Latoya say? Latoya says she don't like the way he spends her money because she spends hers differently. Girl. I don't know who Latoya is looking for. I don't know who she's looking for. And it may not be this guy. I'm not saying she had to like the guy. But what I'm saying is Latoya does not see herself. And Latoya does not see the parts of her that are very unattractive. And no man is going to come around and want to fit into Latoya's life. Latoya is going to have to learn how to also bend and fit into his life. When Latoya starts talking about she wants to have children, and he says, children, how old are you? And she says, I'm in my mid-30s. And she says she wants to have at least 3 children. He's like, at your age? Latoya said, yeah, I could have twins. Latoya said, I could have twins and then another one afterwards. Latoya, you should have got started a long time ago. Long time ago. Once you start getting past 35 and you originally want to have 4 kids, whatever it is, you might need to scale that down and go from 4 to 3 and from 3 to 2. And who knows, by the time you finish, you might be down at 1. You might be down at 1, Latoya. You know, she's over here running around talking about why did Labrina set me up with this man and this is going nowhere. She making side jokes talking about she ready to withdraw. His account is overdraft. She really thinks she's funny. She really does think you're funny. But let me tell you something, Latoya. You might be wondering why Labrina set you up with him, considering that he's older and, as you say, maybe a cat daddy. I don't know. I don't know how old the man was, but Latoya's in her mid-30s. I think this man was probably around maybe he was late, maybe he was 50. I don't know. But he said his youngest daughter was 31. So let's say he said he would never date anyone younger than his daughter. His daughter's 31. So let's say he had a child at, I don't know, 22. So maybe he's 50, early 50s. So that would mean he's about 17 years older than Latoya. Well, the problem with Latoya in the dating world is she reads a lot older than she is. She might be 35, but her physical fitness is not of a 35-year-old. That is aging her. Her body weight is aging her. So first off, Latoya is 35. Because of all the extra weight that she carries, I'm going to have to add to Latoya minimum 5 years. And to be honest with you, I want to add 10. She's not competing with women who are 30 and 35 year bracket. She's not. She's just not competing with them. She's also stuck in her ways. That's an old trait. Women who are typically younger, they're a little bit more adventurous, outgoing. They're still growing, wanting to try new things. Latoya is not that way. Latoya is almost like I said, she was married to her father. So she's got old ways. So she's not really 35. When I see Latoya, she presents as a 45-year-old woman. She's stuck in her ways. She dresses like an older lady. Her weight ages her by 10 years. And a 35-year-old is going to look at Latoya as being old. So therefore, she's kind of got to date an older man because that older man will feel as if she's young. You hear what I'm saying? You see the math I'm doing? A 50-year-old will say, ooh, I'm getting a younger 45-year-old because Latoya is really 45. Um, and so when Latoya says she's getting an older man, girl, not really. Not really. Latoya don't see herself. Somebody need to deliver some truth to her too, because she's an older woman. She's not adventurous. She's not outgoing. She's stuck in her ways. Her body, her figure, everything reads like a 45-year-old that's already had a couple of kids. It's no shade. It's just that what I'm trying to say is people got to know how they're perceived. So that way, when they go out into the world, whatever it is they're trying to accomplish, they can make sure that the offer that they're presenting to these people is something that those people would want. And what you're asking for isn't outrageous compared to how people perceive you. It's more than just your own self-worth. You need self-worth, you do, because you don't want to diminish what you're worth, but you got to be realistic. And right now, Latoya is not realistic. And the other part is she puts other people down a lot, a lot. And I just don't get it, Latoya. I really don't. But the last little scene we got to see was the one with Elena and Josh. That's when we found out that Josh is not even doing individual therapy at all. So at this point in time, Elena is still not telling us what is the egregious act that Josh has done. I don't know if she's protecting Josh or she's protecting herself. I suspect she's protecting herself. She may phrase it that she's protecting Josh, but I think the reason why she doesn't want to admit it is because she's afraid people will say to her, why are you still with them? That's a lot of reason why married women suffer in silence, because while they're still trying to make up their mind how they're going to handle the situation in which maybe a husband has betrayed them, they're afraid to tell other women because other women will start telling them you should leave him. And she hasn't decided on her own what she wants to do. So if this is Josh's second time that he's cheated on her and she hasn't left him, she doesn't want to share it because then she thinks other people will call her a fool. So she's here trying to convince Josh to go into couples therapy. And he's really reluctant. You know, it's interesting because Josh is not only reluctant to do any type of therapy. He said he was going to do individual therapy, but he doesn't want to go because he's going to have to get confronted and take accountability on what he probably did to damage the relationship. So he doesn't want to do it. But does he want to keep the marriage? He does. I think he wants to keep the marriage, but he's probably like a lot of people do when they've done wrong. They don't want to lose the marriage, but they don't want to act right. And they don't want to take accountability what they did. And they don't want to do the hard work they need to do in order to repair the marriage. And that's where Elena is. Now, how do we get here? How do we get to the point where Josh is about to lose his marriage? His wife has moved out of the bedroom, and yet he can't do something as simple as go to therapy. It's not because he doesn't love her. It's because he's never experienced these boundaries that Elena is now setting forth. You see, it's kind of like a child. Imagine that when your child was young, you didn't draw boundaries. You didn't discipline your child. You kind of let your child do whatever they want to do. And now your child is now 14, 15 years old. And now your child is hell on wheels. And now all of a sudden you start trying to put your child on timeout or give them rules and regulations. And they're like, what? We ain't had no rules for 15 years, regulations. There were never any consequences to my actions 15 years ago. And you never drew boundaries before. So now I don't believe your boundaries. I believe that I can keep giving you lip service and you'll never, ever do what you said you're going to do. So Elena's frustrated. But you know what? Elena's doing a much better job at expressing herself, drawing boundaries. She's been having a lot of conversations with her mother. She's now having conversations with Josh. And as Elena is trying to develop into a new person, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to have to get used to the new Elena. And it's going to be interesting to see how they survive it. You see, we don't know all else what's going on in their marriage. There's always two sides to every story. We haven't heard from Josh. We know Josh has done some wrong. We know he's made some poor decisions. He's even said that. But we also don't know what part Elena has also played in some of the fracturing of her marriage. Because let me tell you, even with a cheating husband, there's always things that each individual person in marriage could have done differently that we didn't do. So it'd be interesting. That's why I was saying that I think Josh should have individual therapy, because whatever made him or encouraged him or made him think it was okay to do what he did, the therapist needs to get to the bottom of that. And honestly, it shouldn't be done in front of Elena. It would be very hurtful for her to hear some of his real world truths. Some of his real world truth, he actually needs to sort it out in private with his therapist. And then he can come back later and present it to Elena in a way in which won't be so harmful and damaging to her. So I don't really know if Elena knows what she's asking for when she asks for couples therapy, but it looks like he's now agreeing. So it looks like we're going to get to see it. I would tell Elena hold fast with her boundaries, keep going down the road, because if she relents and she lets up, I believe that Josh won't make any steps whatsoever. She's actually got to continue to hold his feet to the fire, and she's got to continue down the direction. It can't be with the kids, you know. If you do this, I'm going to do this, but then you never do that. They learn that it's all talk and no action. And I think what Elena has mentioned over her life is that she has spent a great deal of her life trying to appease others, her mother and other people. And now what she's saying is, when am I going to start standing up for my own? When am I going to start standing up for my own self? So, very, very interesting episode. Lots went on, lots to talk about. But let me know what y'all think down in the comments, and we will talk to you later. Bye.